Welcome to Best Picture This, where it is always Oscar season. I'm Mike.
And I'm Brian. In this show, we reevaluate every Best Picture nominee from the 21st century and decide whether to keep it or kick it from its Oscar pedestal.
And that's all true, but I just want you to know, Brian, that the only reason I am here is you. You're all my reasons.
Am I real?
I think so. Oh, I don't
feel
know.
Real.
If you're not, this is going to make for an awkward podcast.
Do not pinch me.
In 2001, the nominees for Best Picture were Moulin Rouge, Gosford Park, In the Bedroom, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, or I'm sorry, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Return of the King. Let's not
I'm
get
skipping
ahead of
ahead,
ourselves.
yeah. And today's movie, Best Picture winner, A Beautiful Mind, directed by Ron Howard. Here's the trailer.
John Nash was one of the most brilliant minds of his generation.
Welcome to Princeton. Who among you will be the next Einstein?
Find a truly original idea, and it's the only way I will ever distinguish myself. It's the only way I will ever matter.
He saw the world
Where's Nash?
Out there, looking for his original idea.
in ways that no one could imagine.
This flies in the face of 150 years of theory.
Congratulations, John.
It's the achievement of a lifetime.
From producer Brian Grazer and director Ron Howard,
I'm wondering, Professor Nash, if I can ask you to dinner. You do eat, don't you? How big is the universe?
Infinite.
How do you know for sure?
I don't, I just believe it.
It's the same with love, I guess.
the extraordinary gift
What can I do for the Department of Defense?
that set him apart.
You are the best natural code breaker I have ever seen.
You've done your country a great service, son.
Would push his mind
What is wrong with you?
beyond its limits.
Somebody, help me!
John, open the door. Talk to me. Tell me what happened.
It didn't happen.
This is not what I signed on for.
I'm not leaving.
Stop! You can't reason your way out of this.
Why not? Why can't I?
I need to believe that something extraordinary is possible.
Universal Pictures, DreamWorks Pictures, and Imagine Entertainment present
You have to help me.
one man's journey to the greatest discovery of all.
You don't know it's real. This is real.
Academy Award winner Russell Crowe, Academy Award nominee Ed Harris, and Jennifer Connelly.
Perhaps it is good to have a beautiful mind, but an even greater gift is to discover a beautiful heart.
A Beautiful Mind.
How sweet.
Better title would be A Beautiful Heart.
Then it gives the whole thing away, Brian.
Oh, yeah,
This movie is
yeah.
a math movie. It's about numbers. Very cold.
Other nominations. So it was nominated. It won Best Picture. It won Best Actress for Supporting Role, Jennifer Connelly.
Okay.
She was tremendous in this movie, made the movie work. Best Director, Ron Howard. Maybe, I don't know about that one, but we'll see. Best Writing for a Screenplay Based on Material Previously Produced or Published, Akiva Goldsman. It was nominated for 4 more. It won all those. I mean, that is an impressive list right there to win those 4, but it also was nominated for 4 more. Best Actor, Russell Crowe. Best Film Editing, Best Makeup, Best Music Original Score, which brings me to my question for you. Did James Horner deserve a nomination for this score? Did you notice the score?
I'm going to say, since I paid almost no attention to the score, the answer would be no.
So,
But I mean, honestly, I think that not paying attention to the
Sometimes
score
that
is
helps.
a good thing sometimes, that it's working emotionally on you, but you're not thinking about it.
that could be.
But
to
in this
me-
one, this is like
to me-
prestige Oscar music.
To me, it kind of, but that's the thing. That's what I feel like was kind of one of my problems with the movie.
Oh, I'm saying it as a problem. Make no mistake about it.
One of my problems with it is that it's extremely predictable soundtrack.
It is.
You know, it's like, and I think that's one thing that I see with Ron Howard. It's like, and I watched a masterclass with Ron Howard. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm getting there. So Ron Howard, he said in this masterclass that he kind of purposefully does not have a sort of signature way of going about a movie. He tries to blend into the movie so that it's serving the role, which I get, and it sounds good. But then it also kind of feels like a lot of Ron Howard is sort of vanilla, you know, and he doesn't have like sort of an artist's stamp.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something.
He's kind of the total opposite of the auteur theory, where it's like the writer director.
Yeah.
They have his signature. He's a workman. He comes in. He makes quality movies.
Churns out tons of quality movies.
Yeah.
I mean, he's prolific.
He knows how to make them, and he knows how to manipulate an audience in certain ways. But I'm not. I don't know. I will say that I didn't look up the nominations before this movie and the winners, but. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
It's a lot of winners and a lot of noms, and they're surprising. Who won Best Actor? If Russell Crowe didn't.
Denzel Washington won Best Actor for Training Day.
Yeah.
And he was fantastic in Training Day.
Yeah.
But Russell Crowe won for Golden Globe, Screen Actors Guild, Critics' Choice, and BAFTA. And then he lost in the big one. I think that there's a scene, speaking of the score, where the pens are being placed on the table.
Yeah.
And we have it at the beginning where someone else, and he's like, oh, I want to be there someday kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is there and the pens are being placed. And when I was watching it, I was like, the music just swells so much in that moment that I kind of felt dumb. I was like, does James Horner and Ron Howard not think that I sort of already understand that this is significant?
This is when you're supposed to feel.
Yeah, so please make sure you feel that way. Yeah. So sometimes a score can backfire. It did for me. Apparently it didn't necessarily for you, which again is good to know. They did talk a lot about this. Ron Howard and James Horner talked about like that making this math was not like about numbers and solutions, but it was more akin to a kaleidoscope, which I thought was a pretty interesting way of going about it. But I didn't really see that as much with the music. I saw it with Roger Deakins doing the cinematography in some places. I thought there was some great shots of like the light going through the glass and some of the shadows up the stairs.
There's
and things
got to
like
be
that.
a mathematical reason for how bad your tie is.
That is a great line. That's a great line. But anyway, so moving on. In the show, we'll offer our golden takes. We're going to talk trivia. And the big reveal, Mike, will you keep it or kick it from the top 5?
I'm not going to tell you right now, but maybe you'll be able to tell.
I can sort of predict already.
I will say that I was holding certain things back in your intro when you were giving all that information.
Were you really? Okay.
A little bit.
That's exciting.
But I will tell you my best directing moment.
Please.
All right. So I'm going to call it genius vision. You know how in some movies like the POV shifts and we get to see what like the killer thinks or whatever. In this movie it shifts and we get to see how the genius thinks and how he gets patterns, sort of how patterns emerge.
That's a good way to describe it. I like it when a movie does that.
Yeah. So the way that Russell Crowe's character sees patterns here, the screen sort of blurs out of focus and then certain numbers and certain letters pop out. They're highlighted.
Is this like Psych?
Like Psych.
Have you seen the show Psych?
I have not.
Oh,
no.
Okay, never mind then.
Sorry.
Listeners, you know what I'm talking about.
Mark, edit that part out. So this is a small effect, but I don't know. It tells us a whole lot without having to explain to us how his mind is different. It's shorthand, you know. It explains to us that his mind is different than ours. We get it right away exactly how it's happening, but there's also like something mystical about it. So he goes to the Pentagon at one point to crack a code, and he walks in this room. Ron Howard does this big sweeping 360, and he's looking at all these walls that are covered with numbers, and then he just kind of starts putting things together. And you know, this kind of gets spoofed a lot. Like The Hangover is the famous one with Zach Galifianakis, like counting cards, and the numbers are going everywhere all over the screen. I mean, that's kind of what happens here. And he puts this all together and he cracks this code in no time. So it's kind of a superpower.
Absolutely.
In that scene. But
it's a superhero movie.
Maybe. But I think the fact that...
Then my next question is always, is it a horror movie?
Always. Those are the top 2 questions. But the fact that we see it as a superpower in that moment and the rest of the movie doesn't feel like that at all, I think it tips us off a little bit to something else going on, and obviously that's paid off later.
Because I knew when I saw those, like, if there was a pattern there, I also would have seen it.
Oh, you would have cracked it.
So I knew
right away.
That must have been fake.
Yeah. You can't be that good. How about you?
But I thought it was interesting how, not knowing what he's doing, they're throwing around all kinds of crazy high-level math that no one in the audience gets. I mean, at least probably you didn't. But I thought that it felt authentic. And actually, they did use like real math
Algorithms, equations,
conundrums.
Who knows? This is a liberal arts show.
It shows part of our background here. But I thought that it did it well, where you didn't feel stupid because you weren't getting that, because you know that it's kind of above what you're doing and it's okay.
Yeah,
they weren't trying.
It's not important.
They weren't really trying to let you in on the joke or on the math. It was okay that you didn't get it. And I thought that must have been an interesting decision to make at some point.
Yeah.
Where like the drama is not, oh, is he going to solve it like this? That's not the drama, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be
all we need
drama.
to understand is that his mind works differently than ours. Give us some kind of shorthand to where we understand that, and it doesn't have to be explained. I don't want to listen to an explanation about how smart this guy is.
Not in a Ron Howard movie.
No.
Maybe a documentary.
Maybe not in any movie.
Maybe a documentary. My best directing moment was when so Russell Crowe's character, it's after, not right after that moment you're talking about, but he's in the car chase with Ed Harris's character. And he's after he's done with that, he's pretty traumatized. He's disheveled, he's scared. And from that back of the car scene, we cut to inside his house. And it's very proper, tidy, well furnished. It's like I imagine your home to be.
Oh, for sure.
And in walks Russell Crowe, and so we sort of see his state of mind as a stark contrast to the surroundings. And I think that was, again, a conscious choice of Ron Howard and Roger Deakins, the immortal cinematographer, who they could have followed him all along, like getting out of the car, walking on the driveway, and he's like handheld. Like there's actually a scene like this in The Insider with Russell Crowe 2 years earlier than that. Mm-hmm. And he's like walking in and, but you don't get that. You get the very
contrast,
steady,
controlled and uncontrolled.
And I think what that does is puts you in Jennifer Connelly's point of view, even though she's not in the shot. This is her world that he's now coming into. And I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. And also a couple other just quick director things that I noticed was, in the first half of the movie, you see Nash, Russell Crowe's character, lower than Jennifer Connelly in multiple shots. He's sitting at a desk. He's one stare down when they're gazing at the stars. When he is proposing he's on the knee. Yeah. You see that a lot, and I thought that was kind of interesting because he's clearly taller. But then in the later part of the movie, it is reversed, and he's now taller than she is in several different shots.
Nice. So I didn't pick up on that.
I don't know exactly. I was trying to think through what is he trying to say with that, but I think maybe just that he's gaining more control, over his life. But also she definitely seems to be kind of driving things. She's so aggressive and everything, which she's just such I think she's a fantastic character in this movie and very well deserved for the best supporting actress.
So best writing moment. So during the shock treatment, his doctor says something like, the greatest nightmare is not knowing what's true. I tried to get the exact quote here. I wrote it down during the movie. Couldn't find it anywhere. So it says something about the internet. It couldn't have been my searching skills. But not knowing what's true. This is, it's mostly focused on people, because he has these friends that he finds out are not friends. They were actually delusions.
Spoiler.
So that quote, the worst thing in the world is not knowing what's true, is about his illness, but also about his specific personality, because he's somebody who thinks he's the smartest person in the room, no matter what the room. He's very sure of himself.
Which he is.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. He's in a very prestigious university.
True.
He's not doing very well because he thinks he's so much smarter. So he's not actually.
Nobel.
Later. Even when he was young, he wasn't going to school. I mean, he wasn't going to class because it dulls your mind. Meanwhile, he's not accomplishing anything. Yeah. I think the point is that he's learning humility. He's learning that you're not the smartest person until you do something with it, until you kind of you put in the work. Mm-hmm. So not to know something challenges his entire worldview. And that's actually one thing I liked about the way that this character changes, is that whole idea of learning humility. He actually goes back to school in the latter half.
That's
right?
a great line when he walks in. He's like, "This is my first time in class." That's funny.
Yeah. So he kind of learns not to trust himself. He learns the importance of not trusting himself. And when he meets someone new, he even has to confirm with a student, like, is this a real person? Do you see them? So he's kind of giving all of his power away to other people to confirm things before he engages. But this idea of not knowing what's true, it's also about, social isolation. He thought he had friends and he really didn't. And in reality, his genius is like what's keeping him detached from people because he is so different. And I don't know, I think that that's something everyone could relate to. Not only geniuses, but like everyone feels like they don't fit in sometimes, right? And we can never know somebody as well as we think we do. So
right on.
I liked it.
You like the movie?
It's fine. It's fine.
You're terrible. Best writing moment, when Russell Crowe is told that he has to go back to the hospital for treatment after he has just almost drowned the baby, which is a great, terrifying scene. I think you really don't know if he's going to do it, partly because it's real life and maybe that really happened, there's a tragedy, but he doesn't do it. Jennifer Connelly's character saves the baby, but he refuses to go to the hospital, saying he's going to try to beat the mental illness on his own. And for her own safety, Jennifer Connelly leaves and is going to go with the doctor. Again, a great role for Christopher Plummer. Showing back up after he was in The Insider with Russell Crowe. It's funny how this happens in the span of a few years with so many characters.
Yeah.
I also thought about this with Jennifer Connelly going from Requiem for a Dream to this character. So different, but shows her versatility. So anyway, when Jennifer Connelly, Russell Crowe's all alone, in his house, and he thinks that his wife has left. And when she shows back up, I think that is a true surprise in the story. And she kind of, to me, is sort of like this hallucination in a way, shows back up in the doorway. I had seen it before, and I was kind of still surprised how she shows up in the door like that. Maybe the edit there is partly why that works so well to me. But she seems like too good to be true that she's there, and you kind of have this relief. I think that in that moment, what the movie does really well is makes you you feel Russell Crowe's emotions. What he's feeling right there, I'm feeling when Jennifer Connelly shows back up there. And when she says, as you heard in that trailer, I need to believe that something extraordinary is possible. That's the best writing line to me. It's puzzling in a way because you don't really know if she needs to believe it for her own sake or because she wants Russell Crowe's character to recover. But it kind of says both things at once, which is why I think it's great. And it's the emotional climax of the movie. Yeah. And it's one of my favorite moments of the year in movies, I think, is that
really
moment.
that moment.
I thought it was tremendous.
Interesting. Okay. So where is the line?
Where do I go from here?
Yeah,
how do I bring him down?
I wasn't expecting my favorite moment of the year out of this movie.
One of them.
Even though this won Best Picture.
It sure did.
I mean, that means that it's the best film that was made in
It does, because the Oscars don't get it wrong.
No, they don't. So where's the line between loving and enabling? Because that's what I was thinking more of in the scene. Not so much that like, oh, I'm so into this because she's supporting him, but more like, should she be supporting him?
That's a good question.
I mean, he doesn't know what's real and what's not. He's a danger to others now, apparently.
Well, the baby is safe, so I think that kind of
they also set up that scene though where he almost kills her, which I felt that like that scene might have been my least favorite of the entire movie. It just rang totally false to me because I think that they need us to feel a breaking point, and you already did that with the baby, but then she's about to leave the house and all these delusions are saying like, you can't let her leave. You have to kill her.
As though he was going to go kill her. Yeah. That part I didn't really buy either. Now that I remember what you're talking about, I think the baby was plenty.
That's all we need.
I agree.
All right. I'm still shaking off that that's your favorite moment of the year.
I said one of, but I'm not backing down from how great it is.
Okay.
I think that's why she won best supporting actress.
Yeah. She's good. I'm not sure the character is good, but she is. My golden take. I'll give you my golden take. So I hadn't seen this probably since it came out on DVD. So like 2002. It's been a long time.
It has.
And I kind of forgot what the movie was about. I think in the back of my mind, I knew.
Math guy.
It's a math guy, blah, blah, blah. But the progression toward that reveal, I think it was in the back of my brain, but I didn't really see it coming. So I talked before about this genius vision.
Wait, you didn't you mean, was it a surprise to you when you realized that like all these hallucinations were fake?
No, but
Okay.
I think when we were initially researching this year's movies, when I typed in A Beautiful Mind on the computer, I think I saw a picture of him like in a rubber room or something, and so I sort of remembered that there was gonna be an asylum element to the movie.
I thought you don't look ahead. You don't cheat.
Listen, Google it shows you pictures at the top of the screen. So it kind of ruined that twist, but I didn't really remember it or how it happened so much. And I talked before about how that genius vision tips us off that like something supernatural is going on, and maybe we don't believe that so much. It's like unbelievable enough to where we're not sure whether or not we should believe it. Like, is this actually unbelievable, or is this movie logic and that's just heightened style? You know?
Right.
So in the first half of the movie, I kept feeling that sense of artificiality, like something's off here, you know, what's going on? And I think that that's good in establishing the contrast between like the delusions and the reality. What's real, what isn't. First half, second half. Crowe says a couple of times early on that people don't like him. And then we meet Paul Bettany, his roommate, who just pops up and like forces his friendship on him.
He, as always, Paul Bettany is like instantly this charismatic,
He's so charismatic.
amazingly lovable guy, but so cool at the same time.
But also doing movie things that I kind of hate. Like sometimes characters will just burst in a room in mid-sentence, and it's supposed to show us that like this guy's got a verb for life. He doesn't stand by social conventions.
I mean, that's how I am.
It's not.
Isn't that how I am?
No, you've never walked into a room in mid-sentence and then jumped on my desk and... I mean, you probably did a little jumping on the desk. But yeah, he forces his friendship on him. We're not really sure why. We find out later that he wasn't real. Makes perfect sense. That's good.
Right.
That's the kind of payoff that's good. But I'm not convinced that all of the moments that I felt that sense of artificiality were intentional. So let's go to Jennifer Connelly.
She was real.
She was real. But was she? Because I think that she was real, as in she's a real character in the movie, but I'm not sure that any of her motivations or how she acts reflect anything that we've seen in real life. She's so forward. I'm not saying that women can't be forward. They can.
But she walks up to like this kind of weird professor.
Yes. What does she see in
as
him?
though she's in love. Yeah.
We have no idea.
He's Gladiator. Come on.
She doesn't know that. We don't know what she sees in him. She forces them to go out, and then once they go out, he like can't really take care of himself. He's like, his tie is crooked. She's always like dusting off his shoulders. She's taking care of him like he's a mother. Maybe that's what she sees in him.
Maybe. Also, the fact, it also was interesting to me that like, I mean, usually teacher dating student is at least something that you have some pause over.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they were both like, it wasn't an issue at all. And,
yeah,
you know, that
maybe it wasn't in that,
maybe it
that
wasn't.
time. I don't know. But then they get married. She gets pregnant. Everything happens super fast. Then the psychiatrist shows up out of nowhere. Are we supposed to know who called him? How he knew Russell Crowe was in trouble? And I don't know. I guess that this was the breaking point for me in the movie because
this is when you lost your mind.
Yeah, this is it. Because I guess so we've talked about this in Mulholland Drive before. And I was saying that so much of that movie works, I think, because Lynch is making very, very, very strong choices in the first half that really contrast with his choices in the second half, so that we can link those together and they pay off because of those changes. I'm not sure that Howard went far enough here, because sort of the techniques that he uses to sell those delusions are kind of the same techniques he uses to manipulate us and make us feel good about this Jennifer Connelly relationship that doesn't make any sense. Or like to just motor right past the fact that we don't know how this psychiatrist showed up. I mean, even Connelly doesn't know about Russell Crowe's mania, and neither do his coworkers.
I don't think he does either, though.
So how does a psychiatrist?
To me, that's what I'm trying to remember exactly when the psychiatrist comes in. I'll have to rewatch it. Maybe we could rewatch it together sometime.
I'm not rewatching it.
I have the extended cut.
I didn't hate it. I don't want to make it sound like I hated it.
Oh yeah, it doesn't sound like that at all.
The movie is watchable. It's like I just don't know how it gets Best Picture, I guess.
I thought that Russell Crowe, not knowing that he was having the hallucinations, that his discovery of it was very impactful. I mean, I thought that, you know, when he goes and you see Christopher Plummer, I thought that was actually really well done, that even then you're thinking, well, maybe if there's all this conspiracy stuff, maybe he's right that Christopher Plummer is really a Russian, in disguise who's making him think that he's crazy.
See, now I thought
worked.
he was a delusion.
I thought that great.
Plummer himself was not real, and I thought that for a while, and then it became clear that that wasn't the case. And I'm not sure that that works. I think that there shouldn't be confusion at that point anymore because the wall has been torn down. I just think that Howard's kind of playing it too safe. It's very down the middle, and so
he is a down the middle director.
He is
for sure, and I think that. I don't know, but to me, again, the hallucinations worked. It'd be interesting to go back and pinpoint like moment by moment when we rewatch it, exactly when you believe and when you don't. Golden take. To me, the really interesting thing about this was that immediately after the movie that I watched with my wife, she does what she always does, which is immediately after you go on and you read what really happened in real life.
Oh, I couldn't care less.
But some of this stuff I'm going to tell you anyway, even though you don't care. You could care less.
All right.
In real life, Nash and his wife were not always totally faithful to each other. Nash was abusive at times. They got divorced in 1963. In his Nobel Prize acceptance speech, which in the movie is, it's a little melodramatic, but I kind of felt like his gratitude to his wife. It's true. She wouldn't have been there. He wouldn't have been there without her. But that didn't really happen. He didn't really give that speech. So in The Guardian, in 2012, Alex von Tunzelman wrote, quote, "The result is an effective piece of cinema, but one that has little faith in the audience's intelligence," unquote. But I think that the departure from the facts of what really happened, to me, it kind of made me think about what is really the point of telling a true story in a movie. Because you could go and, just research about the guy.
Yep.
But so what's the point of telling a true story in a movie instead? And I think that the fact that they kind of bend the facts and throw some out, it's kind of, again, some movies I have a hard time with it. In this one, I felt like it's okay to sort of turn John Nash into more of a hero than he really was in real life. John Nash actually told one of his friends about this movie. He died in 2015. John Nash did, so he saw the movie. He said, "I liked it a lot, but it wasn't me." I guess in this movie, I'm willing to separate the biography that it's based on, Sylvia Nasser, or Nassar, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But I'm willing to separate that. Like, that's one thing, and this movie is another thing. And it made me think that everyone's life, if you wanted to, you could turn into a horror movie or an inspirational Hallmark movie if you just pick and choose like these very specific moments. And I felt like it's okay to tell a story that inspires us and lets that guy look like his best self in this movie. And it becomes sort of part of our modern day mythology. That what do you learn from John Nash? You yourself mentioned a lesson to learn from it. I can't remember what it is now, but you did say something, smart earlier a few minutes ago about that.
Is this a fairy tale?
Is it a fairy tale?
If Chocolate is a fairy tale, this is a fairy tale.
Maybe it is a little bit of a fairy tale.
I mean, you just said that they were divorced. He did not make that speech, to his wife at the Nobel Prize.
It's basically taking a real life story and putting on a new happy ending to it.
Sanding all the edges down, making it very safe.
So it's a movie,
very palatable.
It's not really, you're understanding certain things about a Nobel Prize winner that you didn't know before. But for the most part, if you were to take John Nash's name out of it and just put in some other, maybe his name is Billy Bob.
But then the Oscars wouldn't like it as much. They love historical stuff.
Depending on, it doesn't matter how wrong they are.
Nope. Doesn't matter because
Based
there's a real person
story,
that exists.
This movie is 50% true, therefore a true story. What if it goes to 49? Does it have to be called pure fiction?
I think that it could be 10%. I think
and it would
take the names.
Oscars would still love it.
I don't know. I mean,
maybe.
I think you could. I think the story could be 10% true, and I would be fine with making the other 90% make believe. This is make believe anyway. None of it is going to be real. It's not a documentary. It's the same argument that people make when they say the movie's not as good as the book, or like they changed this, they changed that. Who cares what they changed? You're talking about an hour and a half to a 2.5 hour movie. That's the window, and a book could be thousands of pages.
It could.
They're different things.
One of the beefs I did have with the real life, action of it is that while the equations are real on the board, written by the real John Nash, the professor who served as math advisor is actually the hand double for Russell Crowe as he's writing him on the windows. So talk about the magic of movies.
Was he the same?
Talk about he was also the American Beauty hand.
Was he also the hand in the wheat field in Gladiator?
He could have been.
I hope he was.
Russell Crowe's hand stunt double.
He's very specific. You got to use my hand guy.
And they have to be very safe scenes, like someone standing at a window or walking with no bad guys around.
I love the math on glass trope too.
Yeah,
every smart math person in a movie has to write on a pane of glass instead of a chalkboard. It's great.
All right, trivia. John and Alicia Nash were killed in a car crash on May 23rd, 2015. John Nash was 86, Alicia was 82. So what's strange about this is that James Horner died in a plane crash less than a month later in 2015. Interesting. During filming, Ron Howard decided that Nash's hallucinations should be audible first, then visual, so that it would kind of help to understand what's going on. But in real life, the hallucinations were only ever auditory. He never saw anything. People who are considered for different roles. Selma Hayek for Alicia Nash. Alicia Nash is actually from El Salvador. Okay. That was one reason. Rachel Weisz, Charlize Theron. Here's the people who are possible for John Nash. So I want you to give me a yes or no on whether this would have been an improvement. Okay. If this would have made it a Best Picture winner for you.
None of them will, but go ahead.
Would have been.
Nope.
Or maybe these people directing instead of Ron Howard. No, just kidding. So tell me if you like this person instead of John Nash. Bruce Willis.
Nope.
Kevin Costner.
Nope.
John Travolta.
Nope.
That's an obvious no. Tom Cruise.
No. I don't know why I hesitated. That's a definite no.
John Cusack.
He's the closest one so far.
I thought the same thing. Maybe John Cusack could have been that. Charlie Sheen.
No.
Absolutely not. Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, he could probably pull it off.
Totally. Nicolas Cage?
No.
Nah. Johnny Depp?
He could, I guess.
He would have overwhelmed it, I think, no. Jared Leto?
Too young.
Also interesting to go from Jared Leto, Jennifer Connelly, and Requiem to here. Anyway, enough of that. Gary Oldman is one that he seems like he could have done. He could do anything.
But Russell Crowe is
Russell Crowe he's versatile. I never actually love him in anything. I mean, I think he's very good.
I think I might like him better in The Insider than in this. And this, he's doing a lot of that stuff, but then he's bringing it up, 3 levels.
I thought he was better in The Insider than this also.
This is just very big. This is a very big performance.
And in The Insider, he sort of went from normal to kind of losing it. And from here, he went from kind of losing it to really losing it. Yeah. But it was all the same kind of mannerisms.
And all of the tics are softer, where they feel more real life. This is a guy who's playing somebody with issues, and he plays it like that. Yeah. But he's good. I mean, I never watch a performance of his and think, it never gets bad. It's a little big for my taste, my personal taste.
Personal.
Yes.
I mean, could be wrong, but it's personal. John Nash's wife, played by Jennifer Connelly, and Paul Bettany got married. 2 years after the movie came out, which, by the way, my daughter, who was 11, when she watched the movie with us as well, and she said, Vision and Gladiator are roommates? Thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to like this one. The Pentagon office scene was filmed in the basement of Keating Hall on Fordham University's Bronx campus.
Oh, my wife went to Fordham.
Really?
Yeah, she'll love that.
Another change. Another connection. Yeah. That was the same room where they filmed the Georgetown University language lab scene in The Exorcist, 1973. Oh,
interesting.
I still haven't seen The Exorcist. I'm sorry.
That's a mistake.
I'll put it on my list.
Yeah, get on that.
So I want to talk for a second about Roger Deakins. This is maybe one of his most vanilla movies.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even realize
he did
it.
I would not have dreamed that it was Roger Deakins unless I looked it up.
It kind of shows how little research. I keep revealing things that I didn't know going into this. And
we trade off on what research we do. It's all good.
But normally, if I'm excited about a movie, I'll do some.
Yeah.
And this one, I think that says something about the experience of this movie.
Yeah, I get that. Roger Deakins, I love Roger.
He's great. He's great.
So
the
good.
Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Those are some of the best visuals ever.
So that year, that's not even nearly, I think as good as he is in other ones, but that's a great movie. I think it's more of a Brad Pitt movie than it is a directing movie, or actually Casey Affleck.
Casey Affleck.
So in 2007, he made Assassination of Jesse James, or he was the cinematographer for, and No Country for Old Men. He was nominated for both his 6th and 7th Oscar nominations, and he was the first cinematographer to get 2 movies nominated for cinematography since 1972.
I'm sure he won for Blade Runner, right?
He did. That was his first win on his 14th nomination in 2017. Blade Runner 2049, which is one of my favorite all-time visual movies. It's Blade Runner 2049. Roger Deakins also reunited with Sam Mendes. He did Revolutionary Road with Sam Mendes. In 2019, he did 1917, the movie.
Yeah, that's incredible also.
Which is amazing. It was filmed and edited to appear as one uninterrupted take, and he won his 2nd Academy Award for that. Also, we got to check this out, because since April 2020, he and his wife, who goes by James, have hosted a podcast called Team Deakins.
Wow.
And they have guests like Sam Mendes on there.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely watch
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That's pretty cool. I mean, we're kind of like bros. We're like peers.
We're in the same industry, We're doing the same thing.
We're like showbiz buds, So that's the end of my...
I have one trivia.
Okay, go ahead.
So when...
See, you did you brought a trivia to the
No,
table.
I didn't. This is something I noticed in the movie. When Russell Crowe gets taken by the psychiatrist and he's making a big scene, he's resisting, everybody's outside, crowded, they're watching him get hauled away in the car. I spotted Bryce Dallas Howard in the crowd. Did you see her?
I didn't, but I read about it after.
Yeah,
it's Ron Howard's daughter.
Ron
right?
Howard's daughter, yeah,
cameo.
uncredited. I thought that was great.
Talk about nepotism.
And then she was in The Village like 2-3 years later.
Did he direct The Village?
No. M. Night Shyamalan
I was
did.
going to say.
But she's great in The Village.
Oh. Keep it or kick it.
Keep it or kick it.
Drum roll, please. Will, Mike, keep it.
I'm going to give you a little preamble.
Or is it a boot up or a boot down?
I like certain ideas. I like the concept of outthinking emotional problems.
Yeah.
Like trying to intellectualize something into submission. That's something I can get on board with. I've got a little bit of experience with that, and I like that idea. And I guess the idea too that our brain could be like our greatest strength and our biggest weakness.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more obvious, but I just never locked into this movie. I mean, just pretty plain and simple. I mean, there were plenty of moments throughout where I either didn't buy what was happening or I didn't think that it paid off later. And Jennifer Connelly's character is, I think, the biggest example of that. It's supposed to be the emotional core of the movie. It's supposed to be like why we are rooting for him in a lot of ways.
I agree.
And we're supposed to care about her stake in this too. And neither of those things clicked for me. So, and there are a lot of good movies in 2001.
There
so
are.
I could say I'm edging it out to make room for those, but I wouldn't have it in even if it was a different year.
So in other words, kick it.
It's a kick.
That is always an interesting part of the equation for me, because as you know, we're going to be doing our 2001 finale episode next. And that it's tough because if you can only pick 5, the Oscars could only pick 5. So you have to ultimately say this movie is better than all these other ones that are in the running. And there's a lot of really great movies in 2001. To me, though, Jennifer Connelly did work very well for me. The charisma of Paul Bettany, every scene that he was in, it was fun, and I was happy to see him on the screen, and I wanted to see what he was going to do next. I thought his performance was tremendous. Jennifer Connelly was the heart. I think that she, like I said, I felt what he felt when she came back into the room. That was really emotional. Russell Crowe, the twist of the hallucinations, I thought, even though, you can see some kind of tells, and I'd already seen it, so I was wondering if that would kind of ruin the movie the second time around, but it didn't. It still was kind of like believable that he didn't know if they were, so that kind of made it work. So to me, it has a little bit of everything. I didn't love necessarily the visuals as much as I would think in a Roger Deakins movie, but just having his name associated with it was still kind of, it elevated it one notch in my mind. So I'm going to say keep it. It'll be interesting in the finale episode, what I feel like I'm sorry that I had to kick out because of this. Because again, there are some great ones.
So I'm
gonna keep it.
We talk about the popcorn-o-meter sometimes, like how fun and easy a movie is to watch.
Very high on the popcorn-o-meter.
I think this is one that we've watched that would definitely rank higher on the popcorn-o-meter than like the quality-o-meter.
Yeah,
which sounds like a really boring meter, but maybe
the quality-o-meter.
Yeah,
like that doesn't sound boring.
Like the I don't know what should we call that meter? Like the good-o-meter. I just think my point, Brian,
the lynch-o-meter
is that that's a little much. I just think that this movie is like very easy to watch, but I'm not sure that it's great. And the fact that it won Best Picture in 2001 kind of blows my mind.
You know what though? I think that there were things that are really challenge you, because is it like, can somebody mentally overcome their own hallucinations? Should they? Can and should a woman, stick around? Is that love at its finest? Is she making tremendous personal sacrifices to, almost be like the caretaker, or caregiver of this guy? Or like, could you justify, why wouldn't you leave? Like, how would you, that kind of thing. I think some of those like personal things were kind of,
got your brain working a little bit?
They did.
Did they get your heart pumping or your brain working?
Both at the same time. That's why I'm keeping the movie in the top 5.
That would definitely equate to a kick for me too. I can't talk today, Brian.
You get confused about the boots up, boots down.
I do.
In the next episode, we'll do our season finale. We'll talk about the best movies of 2001. We'll rearrange the Oscars, replace some that got snubbed in key categories.
It's going to be fun. I love those episodes. Those are my favorite.
Me too.
We want to hear from you. What was the best movie of 2001? Was it A Beautiful Mind? Was it something that wasn't even nominated? Let us know and we'll read your answers on the show. You can find us at bestpicturethis.com or on Facebook and Twitter at bestpicturethis.
If you want to support this show with cold hard cash, visit patreon.com/bestpicturethis or look for the Patreon button on bestpicturethis.com.
Thanks to WNZF and Mark Gilliland for producing. Also, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
Until next time, if someone tries to tell you that Mike and Brian are your imaginary friends, don't believe them. We're totally real. Are we not?
I think so.
I think we're real.
Totally. I mean, listen to that music.